Apple is working on a complete redesign to the MacBook Pro coming next year that could be the biggest update ever. And that's pretty significant because I thought that the current generation of MacBook Pro was the biggest and best redesign that the MacBook has received in a really long time. After the scandal-ridden and very controversial butterfly keyboard MacBook Pro generation, Apple seems to have finally gotten their act together. But now that we're on the fourth iteration of this design, a lot of us are wondering, what's next? Well, worry not, because I've compiled a list of all of the rumors that I could find dating all the way back to 2023 to give us an idea of what we can expect for the next generation of MacBook Pro. So let's get started right away, and the first thing that we have to discuss is the timeline. Now, previously 2025 had been floated as the year to expect the next major redesign, but some issues with some of the technologies that we're going to talk about seem to have pushed the timeline back until 2026. So if you just bought an M4 MacBook Pro, don't worry, it's not going to be obsolete in 1 month. And while we don't have any clear idea of the exact timeline, Apple tends to do its MacBook Pro updates in the fall, so I would expect October 2026. But I'll tell you what, this thing looks like it's gonna be worth the wait. Famously, in 2021, Apple integrated Mini LED and Pro Motion into the displays of the current generation MacBook Pros, and those things are absolutely legendary. I still maintain that the MacBook Pro has the best display on the market, and it's set to get even better because rumors are pretty clear that the next MacBook Pro is going to have OLED. And yes, I know that PC laptops have had OLED for years, but nobody seems to do it quite like Apple does. And if reports are to be believed, these new OLED panels are almost certainly going to be the tandem OLED technology that we saw last year on the iPad Pro. And those displays are absolutely fan-freaking-tastic. So I can't wait to see them on a laptop. Although I guess I am gonna have to wait like 2 years. But I don't have to wait any longer to transition to this week's video sponsor. Today's video is sponsored by Plod AI. Their revolutionary Note and Note Pin let AI work in the background to make your day easier. Powered by ChatGPT 4o or Claude 3.5 Sonnet, Plod Note and Note Pin can record up to 20 hours at a time and transcribe meetings, phone calls, patient notes, consultations, and more. Plod brings hardware and AI together seamlessly to record, transcribe, and summarize your day. NotePin has 4 wearing modes: pin, clip, lanyard, and wristband, letting it fit in with every outfit. And Plod Note is designed to be no bigger than a credit card. Thanks to high-quality microphones, Plod creates clear, easy-to-understand recordings and transcribes in 112 languages. You can then choose from more than 20 professional summarization templates to help you keep track of everything that was said. And in the latest version of the Plod app, you can even assign speaking labels to different voices, allowing you to see who said what. With Plod Note, you can even record phone calls, and since it has super easy one-press recording, you don't have to worry about taking out your phone, unlocking it, and hunting for an app. For added convenience, Plod can even generate a mind map to help you visualize what was said on a meeting or phone call. And crucially, the audio data on Plod Note is stored locally. They're not internet connected, so when you transfer files to your phone, you choose which files get uploaded and analyzed by AI. With 30 hours of continuous recording, 60 days of standby time, and 64 gigabytes of storage, it provides ultimate flexibility in a super slim package. Plod's unique blend of hardware and AI means you don't have to awkwardly pull your phone out in meetings or distract focus by tapping away on your screen. Plod Note and Note Pin make AI fit into your life effortlessly. So to learn more, check out the link in the description down below. A big thanks to Plod for sponsoring, and now let's get back to the video. So obviously getting OLED displays on a MacBook is something to get excited about, but it seems like Apple might also address really the only design issue that people have with the current generation MacBook Pro, and that is the notch. A rumor last month suggests that the new MacBook Pro will feature a rounded corner and a hole cut for the camera instead of the rounded corner and a notch cut. And if that rumor sounds eerily familiar to the iPhone 14 Pro rumors, then you're not alone. I suspect that Apple may be planning to bring the dynamic island to the MacBook. And I mean, look, it makes sense. Apple already has the technology to do hole punch OLED screens because they're on the iPhone right now. So why not bring it to the Mac as well? What remains to be seen is how Apple could actually integrate dynamic island functionality to the Mac. Obviously, integrating things like the camera and microphone status indicator or currently playing music would be pretty easy to do, but theoretically, with a Mac, you could allow a whole bunch of other dynamic island things that I honestly can't even think of. What would you like to see in the dynamic island on a Mac? Let me know in the comments below. But of course, putting a dynamic island on the MacBook brings up another important question. What about Face ID? This is something that we've been expecting or maybe hoping for a really long time, and I wish I had more clarity for you on that front. Back in mid-2023, we discovered that Apple had filed patents for biometrics in the notch of a laptop. So it seems like Apple has at least thought about the idea, but Apple patents a lot of stuff that never makes it to production. So we have to really sit back and think, how would this actually work? Because the thing about Touch ID on the Mac is it's actually really, really convenient. Your fingers are already resting on the keyboard, so it only takes a split second to move them over to the Touch ID sensor. Whereas with Face ID, it might be a little less clear when it should be scanning and when it should activate. We don't really know if or how Apple would address those concerns, but the closest we can get is a patent that was filed that shows a new activation method allowing Face ID to run in the background without using much power at all. So maybe it would be possible. And since we're on the topic of displays, things honestly just keep getting better and better and better. Because Mark Gurman has been dropping a couple of hints in his reports that the next generation MacBook Pro might even feature a touchscreen. In early 2023, Gurman reported that OLED was in development, but added that touchscreens were also being tested. And this really is an age-old debate. For more than 10 years now, people have been wondering if or when Apple might ever bring a touchscreen to the Mac. But the biggest obstacle to getting touchscreen support on a Mac is macOS itself. A lot of the UI elements on the Mac are very small and sort of tailored to the precision of a mouse. Now, next up, I want to talk about the design. And honestly, there's not a ton of details. It's going to be a little while before we're going to be able to get renders for what this thing's actually going to look like. But in the meantime, the rumors that we have seen suggest that this new generation of MacBook Pro is going to be both thinner and lighter than the current generation. And this will likely be made possible by advancements in Apple Silicon technology. And we'll get to the chips that power this thing in a minute, but as it relates to the design, it seems like Apple is betting big that they're going to be able to increase the thermal performance and the battery performance of these machines, because by making them thinner and lighter, you are going to lose room for cooling and you're gonna lose room for batteries. But while there might not be as much room for batteries, it seems that Apple might take an interesting approach and integrate cellular connectivity to the Mac for the first time. The root of this rumor is that Apple is reportedly working on their very own in-house 5G modems. And supposedly the first device to ship with this new modem is going to be the iPhone SE 4 in just a couple of months. But it's not a stretch of the imagination to think that if Apple is going to go through all the trouble of developing their own modem to be used in the iPhone and the iPad, why not use it in the Mac as well? I wouldn't put this one on your MacBook Pro bingo sheet, but it's definitely something to keep an eye on. But now let's talk about the chips that are going to power this device. And this is where things get just a little bit tricky. The M4 family of chips is a major upgrade over the prior generations, and it's left a lot of us wondering, what do you do for the M5? Probably not that much. I think that we're looking at a fairly minor upgrade this time around. But with these new rumors, it seems like the M5 chip is probably going to launch in the current generation of MacBook Pro, meaning next year's redesign will come with the M6 generation. And that actually looks like a pretty big deal. Specifically, there are two key advancements for the M6 generation that could yield some pretty incredible results for Apple. The first is a new 2nm process. It seems like only a year ago that Apple moved over to 3 nanometers, and that's because it was a year ago. But TSMC is not wasting any time, and this new 2nm chip is expected to be ready in time for the iPhone 18's A20 chip. But honestly, I don't even think that development is the thing to get excited for. The big upgrade this time around is a new technology called WMCM, wafer level multi-chip modules. But what does that actually mean? Well, all Apple Silicon chips so far are packaged using the integrated fan-out method, which is a way to get every part of the chip in a very compact die. So the SSD controller, the neural engine, the image signal processor, the CPU, the GPU, everything is packaged really tightly on a single die. But with WMCM, it allows Apple to build these components in separate dies. WMCM allows you to have a CPU and a GPU be separate dies on the same chip package. But this is different than how Apple used to do it in the Intel days, right? This is not a CPU and a GPU connected by a chipset. They're still going to be built into the same package. So when you take the heatsink off, you'll still see what it looks like currently on Apple Silicon processors. But it also allows for some other clever configurations, such as vertically stacking the chips to make them even more condensed. And all of this helps with thermal efficiency, heat dissipation, and power consumption, meaning that you could have all of this additional manufacturing simplicity while also having a chip that consumes less power and produces less heat. All of that sounds like the perfect recipe for a thinner, lighter MacBook Pro. More power, smaller manufacturing process, less costly upgrades, and more performance? That sounds pretty awesome. But what I'm really curious to hear is what your favorite feature that we talked about today is. This new generation seems like it's going to be an absolute banger, and I can't wait. Well, I guess I have to wait like 2 years. But anyway, I'm excited. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. And of course, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.